Dear viewer, good evening and welcome to Current Issue. With me tonight, the special agent in charge of the FBI for Detroit, Paul Abate. Paul, welcome again to MEA.
Thank you, Wally. Thank you for having me here.
Sure,
as always, it's a privilege.
Thank you. It's a pleasure having you. Paul, let's talk about the local, and then we'll go statewide, and then we'll tackle the issue of tourism and, you know.
Yes.
So the local, in the past month or two, the crime increased dramatically in Detroit. We seen young children get killed. We seen high-speed criminal killing 3 years and 4 years old. Why that? Why that? Is it the weather? Is it the economy? Is it why? I mean, when Mayor Duggan took over, we were all so positive and we were happy and we're looking forward to have better situation in Detroit, but it's getting worse.
You've got to look at overall, Wally. I think a lot of progress has been made, tremendous progress has been made during the time in particular that Chief Craig has led the Detroit Police Department. If you look nationally, violent crime is down. That's the trend. That's the trend we've seen over the last couple of years. But we still have a lot of work to do. It's never enough. You know, even one, we don't want. We want to prevent people from being harmed, from being murdered, from being killed, any physical harm. That's what we, in law enforcement, police, FBI, set out to do. There have been a recent series of incidents within
Detroit
the city
and
of Detroit.
Chicago. You know, those two are increasing.
Yes, we've seen that in those cities and other throughout the country. There's been some recent spikes in violence in those cities, which is out of the ordinary from, again, what we've seen over the last couple years.
Yes.
So we're continuing with our efforts to combat violent crime. We work hand in hand in a task force with the Detroit Police Department and other state, local, and federal law enforcement partners to reduce the violence within the city.
Are you getting the community involved? You know, like the Neighborhood Watch or, you know, those organizations, the churches in the community. Are you together with the state police and Detroit police and all that, reaching to those so we could build more relation, better understanding between you, law enforcement, and the community?
Absolutely. It's essential that we have that. We in law enforcement cannot do it alone. It's got to be a partnership with contributions both by the law enforcement and government and also by the community as well. Working
How are
with
you
us.
doing? How are you reaching the community?
We work again in partnership with Detroit Police Department and others. We do a tremendous amount of outreach here in Detroit, in the metropolitan area, and throughout Michigan to engage people that we serve, the citizens. I mean, that's our job, to serve and protect them and ensure their safety. So we are out in the community day in and day out. We have a community outreach team within our office from the FBI. That's what they do full time, and we work with the same components within, whether it's the Detroit Police or the Michigan State Police or our other partners. We work hand in hand with them to get out in the community, to meet people, to listen to people, to be informed by them. We need people from the community, you know, to guide us to where the issues are, where the problem areas are. That's important to us. It helps inform and guide the work that we do, because again, we can't do it alone. So, you know, we work hard with the resources we have to develop intelligence, to identify the issues and the problem areas so we can go there and counter that, and with the aim being prevention. You know, to prevent violence from occurring.
That's the best way to do it, you know, prevent it before it happens.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you think more police in the street or more agents from the FBI or different law enforcement agency more in the street with the community will help preventing that?
You know, I think additional resources would certainly help. If you look historically, you know, take the city of Detroit, for example. You know, historically, the number of sworn police officers and personnel that they had within the department was
Increase.
much higher
Okay,
than what
good.
it is now. And it's a large geographic area that the department is charged with policing. So certainly having more resources, which I know that the city is working toward.
Yeah.
They are hiring additional police officers now. They're making an investment
Yeah.
for that for now and for the future. I think that would certainly help. It would help, fill the spaces and give additional reach and coverage
Yeah.
throughout the city. And we've seen that be effective in other cities. If you go to New York City, for example,
Yes.
the largest police force in the country, their presence is very visible, and literally almost on every block you can find a police officer there. So certainly that visibility and that accessibility and the response, I think that has a positive impact
Yeah.
on the community and crime prevention.
Yeah, I think, honestly, Chief Greg, he's doing a great job, and Mayor Duggan, he's doing his best. And we've seen some improvement. But in the past couple of months, I mean, it happened so many times and so many places, it raised a flag. But, when the FBI get involved, crime happen. That party black, they call it, and after, people get drunk or a problem and then start shooting. When the FBI get involved in a crime?
When do we get involved?
Yes.
We work hand in hand in partnership with the department day in and day out.
Okay.
We have what we call the Violent Crime Task Force that includes a number of law enforcement partners, and we work. We focus on more from the federal standpoint, the FBI standpoint, on dismantling organized criminal groups, gangs, and things of that nature. But again, we work in tandem with the department to support them, to assist them, when violent crime occurs within the city.
I mean, if somebody got killed, for example, crime, is it joint task force from the FBI and the police and state police go to there, or no, it's after the crime and your job is different, investigating and all that?
Well, like we said before, the aim is prevention, right? We don't want anybody to get hurt or killed. That's the bottom line. So we're always working hard to develop intelligence jointly to try to prevent bad things from happening. That's our goal. However, in the unfortunate event that things do transpire and harm does occur, we react. The Detroit Police Department, for local crime, they're the lead. They're the first responders to anything like that. As you mentioned, there has been a series of unfortunate incidents recently.
Yes.
And that's something that they do. They're the lead agency for that. They are the agency that responds to that, investigates that, and handles that directly.
Okay, let's go to a different. Which crime in the past year or since Mayor Duggan and Chief Greg took over, which crime decreased, which crime increased? Do you have that statistic, or?
We've seen a downward trend in violent crime generally. That's a national trend, but also locally we've seen
How about
that
social
here too.
crimes and
Carjackings
Yes.
are down.
Okay.
We've had a number of initiatives that we've partnered in to reduce carjackings. There was a advertising effort via billboards to inform people of the penalties, the heightened penalties that could be received under federal criminal law if somebody is convicted of a carjacking type of a crime. And we've made an increased effort to advertise that and make those who may be thinking of committing crimes like that aware of that. And we've seen that that's had an impact in terms of reducing that type of crime. Violent crime generally, we have other initiatives like Detroit JUN, which is an effort that's led by the U.S. Attorney's Office and the Eastern District of Michigan, and that's designed to go after the prioritize those offenders, those criminals that the worst of the worst, and we've had a lot of success with that in
That's good.
Removing those individuals from the communities that are committing the most severe types of crime, particularly on a repetitive basis, right? And we've seen a positive impact in the reduction of crime as a result of that initiative as well. Just
That's
recently, within the last few weeks, we participated in another campaign aimed at making everyone aware of the enhanced federal penalties that come from a felon, a person who's been convicted of a felony, unlawfully possessing a firearm. The penalties for that are much more
Higher.
substantial
Exactly.
within the federal system. Again, the U.S. Attorney's Office led an effort and held a press conference to advertise that, to make those individuals that might be inclined to commit that type of crime, make them aware of that, and hopefully discourage them from
From
doing that
the
type
crime.
of thing, from committing crimes,
Yes.
from carrying firearms, and
Yes.
from discourage them from committing violent crime.
Yes, human trafficking. Detroit is one of, not the leading nation, but the percentage is very high. We've seen human trafficking come into Detroit, and
Yeah, I think that we're aware that is an issue that we face here, given where we're situated, geographically within the country and close
Yes.
to the border. We had a conference actually just a couple of weeks ago that was hosted by the Detroit Police Department that brought attention to that
I
the
see.
human trafficking issue that we face, it's something again we're working on. It's a matter. It's a type of crime that we need the public help in identifying and bringing forward, and it's often something that sort of goes under the radar because it's hard to identify the nature of it. Often, the victims are fearful, they're intimidated. We have a lot of resources, funding, and mechanisms to help and protect and support them. And it's important to us to get that message out there because we need people to come forward. We want to be able to identify those who are being victimized
Absolutely.
by human trafficking and forced into labor, exploited, that type of thing, so that we can go in and rescue them, protect them, and then hold accountable those that are committing those type of offenses.
I see. Medical crime. I call it medical crime because if you're not honestly making honest money and charging Medicare or Medicaid, my tax and your tax, and scamming the system, to me it's a crime.
Yeah.
And we've been hearing a lot about that. Can you tell us more how you control it? And it is an FBI issue, right?
It's a huge issue
Yes.
that we face, not just here in Detroit or Michigan, but nationally.
Yeah.
And it's reflected just last week. The largest Medicare fraud takedown in history of the United States occurred the week before last. We had a series of arrests and searches and seizures that occurred in a number of states throughout the country, including here in Michigan. We are within the state, one of the highest areas of Medicare fraud based on the numbers that we see in the country. So we have a unit within our office that works in conjunction with the U.S. Attorney's Office and other agencies
Yes.
to go out and identify those medical professionals, including doctors, who are cheating the system, exploiting the system.
Pharmacists,
for their-
doctors,
yeah.
home health care companies.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We see individuals in all those categories that you just mentioned and others, physical therapists, doctors, pharmacists, and others in the medical profession exploiting the system for their own personal gain.
Yes.
And really, we don't think of it just in terms of economic terms. That is one aspect of it. The impact on the tax-paying us.
Yes. And to be
taxpayers,
honest, you know.
stealing money in that regard, but also in the worst cases, actually physically harming patients who they're entrusted to take care of. So if you look at, we had a recent case, within the last year and a half to 2 years with a doctor by the name of Farid Fatah,
Yes.
who has pled guilty. That individual was actually administering unnecessary treatments
That's
to
crime.
patients,
Crime.
causing harm to them
Harm, yeah.
in order to enrich himself. That is the most extreme type of case we face, but that's out there, and that's our primary concern: protecting patients from being harmed by doctors who are entrusted
Absolutely.
to protect their health.
Sure. If my doctor tells me he needs surgery, heart surgery, my thinking he knows better than me.
Yeah,
But for his greed to do that, that's a crime.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's not just an economic harm; sometimes it's actual physical harm being done to patients as a result of this criminal conduct by the doctors and other medical professionals.
Yes. Paul, we know ISIS and the crime those criminal, commit on innocent people and around the world. And the other day in 3 continents, in Paris, in Kuwait, in Tunisia, and around the world. And there is a lot of talk about there is a sleeping cells in America. Matter of fact, yesterday, the previous deputy director of the CIA, he believed that in 4th of July holiday we might see a terrorist act. With all that, and in Michigan, in Virginia, we have in California, we have large Arab American, Middle Eastern American community, and if we like it or not, the eyes is there because, the social media, mostly in Arabic, and reaching those people, reaching the young people, the innocent people, they brainwash them, and they turn them to a criminal just like them. What the FBI is doing, and is there, first of all, is there any sleeping cell in an area like with high Middle Eastern American community in it, like Michigan and Chicago and California?
I wouldn't say that we don't have any specific credible information or intelligence that would suggest that is here in Michigan, but it's what we're always on guard for, because again, it goes to what we do to keep
Yes.
people safe, protect the public, protect our communities. So we're doing that 24/7, always on guard for that. And we don't focus on any particular community. We understand that there's individuals out there, we've seen it nationally, who are looking to
There is
hurt
over
people.
three dozens arrest. That means there is people there.
Yes, we've had a number of arrests over the past year, probably more than ever in history.
Yes.
That would be, fall into the category of terrorism related. But again, we have to keep an open mind to what we're looking for. If you look at things that have happened around the country, even the recent tragedy in South Carolina,
Yes.
we're looking for to identify any individual, whatever motivates
With
them.
extreme thinking. And,
Yes, extreme thinking, whatever the motivation is behind that, that poses a threat of harm or death to other people. That's what we're looking out for, and we want to stop that from happening before they're able to carry that and carry that out or do something that does actually hurt other people. And that's what we do. We have ongoing efforts to do that.
What are you doing to counterattack their propaganda? I mean, it seemed like to me they winning, because a lot of people from the West, if it's from Europe or U.S., are going and joining them and all that. They winning that propaganda war. What are you guys doing to counterattack this, to prevent them from reaching the young mind, the naive young mind that they could brainwash them?
It's something that we're concerned about. You know, the the reach of the internet is everywhere now.
Yes.
You can reach out from anywhere in the world, and
To anywhere in the world.
some of these groups have done that very effectively
Yeah.
to reach out to many, many people. So when you mention the 4th of July holiday in particular, we've seen messaging going out from some of the terrorist groups to try to inspire or incite people to commit attacks in or around the holiday. So it's something we're very concerned about, and we're always working through all the different resources that we have in partnership with both the communities that we serve and our law enforcement intelligence partners to try to identify that up front and be able to act to prevent something from happening and stop it before it occurs.
Yeah, but if I have a young child, you know, and I don't know what he's doing with the internet and all that, and I see some suspicious, he talk different and all that, what should I do?
Every parent, every person, I think, has an obligation
Or at the school,
to look
or,
out for
you know,
that. It's
yeah.
common sense.
Yeah.
It's and it goes. You can look at it from multiple angles. Everyone should have an awareness, I think, of what their children are doing online, even for their own protection. There's a lot of predators that operate online
Yes.
now, and again, hide behind the anonymity of the internet and leverage that to try to target our children. So it's just common sense. Parents should have an awareness of what's going on in their children's lives, and particularly what they're doing online, and intervene if necessary, both to protect them, and then in the few cases where they might be inspired to do something wrong themselves, they need to be on the lookout for that as well, and bring whatever resources are necessary to bear on that. So it's not always necessarily a law enforcement solution. There's a whole range of individuals that could play a role in that, starting with the parents, and then religious leaders, community leaders, mental health professionals, and then if necessary, if it's too severe, if it's too extreme, and somebody's actually going to potentially harm somebody else,
Yes.
then law enforcement may need to get involved as well.
Is that the FBI?
It could be, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Because honestly, it's scary. It's scary, and leaving and reaching the mind of those young people. I mean,
Yeah, we want people to know. We do want people to come forward if necessary. We want them to use common sense and have an awareness of all the things that we just talked about. Particularly when it comes to younger people, and then take the appropriate steps. So we do want people to know that when they bring information forward to us, we do take a thoughtful approach to it. We don't always just react and seek to arrest somebody. We think about what's the best option in a particular case, and that could involve some of the individuals that I mentioned before. Again, starting with the parents.
Yes.
It might mean engaging a religious leader, a community leader, mental health professionals, to find the appropriate resolution. Yeah, and in the event that it does escalate to a point where somebody may actually go out and hurt other people, we may need to bring up law enforcement resolution to bear on it as well. But that's not always our first reaction.
yeah. Are you taking an extra step for protection in a holiday like 4th of July is coming?
Yeah, absolutely.
At the border and all that?
It's look, it's no secret, as you mentioned, some terrorist groups are calling for attacks in and around the July 4th holiday. That's out there. It's being broadcast. So we take that seriously, and we take our responsibility in preventing that seriously. So yes, there will be, and there is, an extra focus surrounding the holiday, and we'll have additional resources on hand and staffing so that we have a heightened awareness of what's going on during that period, as will our law enforcement partners in terms of events that are occurring in and around the holiday, where there might be large gatherings of people. You will see, I think, additional resources brought to that in order to prevent something from happening.
Yeah. Do you think that what happened in the Middle East and all that criminal activities of ISIS will fire back at the community, will have some, like the crazy guy in North Carolina, you might have another crazy guy against an Arab American innocent, have nothing to do with those criminal, and some criminal acts by him against the community. Do you pay attention to that?
Absolutely. I mean, that's just another part of what we do.
Yeah.
Right. So we always have a concern for that reaction by others to tragedies like that. So again, it comes down to identifying whether there's a threat out there and intervening and stopping something from happening, from harm coming to someone,
yes.
whatever that is. I mean, that's what
Yeah.
we work hard at.
Are you reaching, for example, or do you want the organization or individual who face this kind of threat contact you?
Absolutely.
I mean,
Yeah.
this is the safest way to do it,
Yeah.
Yes.
If somebody, look, if somebody feels like they're being threatened, intimidated, or they're potentially to be victimized, particularly by violence, first and foremost, if it's something imminent, we want them to call 911. We want them to call the police. That if it's something that they feel may happen right away, you need to call 911. Right? That will get the fastest response and put everyone in the best position to protect that person and prevent something from happening. If it's short of that, I still recommend 911 or calling the police. They can also call our offices in the FBI as well, and we will pursue that
Great.
and follow up.
Yeah. Do you have agent working overseas at the different airport, for example, overseas, or at the embassies, American embassies, to prevent and to, the best way is to prevent things before it happens.
Absolutely.
Can you tell me more about it?
Yeah, we have actually a very extensive network of FBI personnel working around the world. That has expanded greatly over the last few years, and it's been phenomenal resource. So I think we have FBI personnel located in over 80 locations around the world, embassies and consulates.
Oh.
So they're not in the airports. They're called legal attaches.
Yes.
And they work out of the embassies and consulates, and they fall under the authority of the State Department and the ambassador there. We have agents, analysts stationed throughout the world in that capacity, and we've had that in place for a long time, but it's been growing. And
yes.
Again, those individuals who serve in those spots work hand in hand with the government officials from other countries, both law enforcement and intelligence, again, to share information and intelligence, again, aimed at preventing things from happening anywhere in the world, whether it's over there or
Yes.
here in the United States. So they do that first and foremost. Preventing acts of terrorism, whatever form that takes, is the number one priority, just like it is here. But they operate and work in criminal matters as well. Whatever it is, we pursue fugitives overseas, individuals that have committed crimes here in the United States and have been charged and may have fled overseas. So we worked often hand in hand with other governments to return those individuals here to the United States to face justice. Financial crimes as well often now are committed, again, over the internet.
Absolutely.
Or internationally.
Yeah. Yes.
Those criminals and criminal organizations have global reaches as well. So we work again with other countries, other
European,
governments,
Middle Eastern
everywhere.
country, they working
Anywhere in the
very
world.
close with you guys to
Very
to
closely
prevent. Yeah.
throughout the world, on
Yeah.
every continent.
Yeah, great. Paul, Ramadan, we have the month of Ramadan, and usually a lot of people donate money, to many organizations, and some of those organizations probably will be overseas, not in America. How I know my donation is gonna put me in trouble? I donate to an organization. They tell me they're helping people and all that, and then later I find out somebody from the FBI or law enforcement come to me and he said, "Well, you donate to a terrorist group, to criminals." How I prevent that from happening?
It comes down to doing your homework. We get asked this question often, both here in the United States and when it comes to making donations or providing funding to a charitable organization overseas. And I tell people you have to do your homework, right? If you're going to donate to a charity here in the United States, we've had instances of organizations and individuals here in the United States
Yes.
misrepresenting themselves, saying that they're collecting money for a charitable cause, but they're actually committing fraud and taking that money
Wow.
for themselves. So you need to do your homework, put it through
Is
a vetting
there a list
process.
that somebody could go and check?
Yes. So if
Yeah.
you go to, I would direct people to the U.S. State Department
Okay.
website, also the Treasury Department. There are, when you're talking, you asked the question pertaining to terrorism, right? So the State Department maintains a list of officially designated foreign terrorist
Yes.
organizations, which individuals are prohibited from giving money or other resources or support to. It's important in terms of doing that vetting process, if you're considering giving money and you're concerned about that, to look at that list, to ask questions of the individual or organization that you're planning to donate to, to ensure that you are giving to an organization that's going to use your money for the
Absolutely.
right purposes,
Sure.
to help other people,
Yes.
for charitable purposes. It comes down to that. Again, you really need to do your homework, ask the right questions, be diligent in terms of your research, both in looking at the government-provided websites and also looking into what the organization is all about. And I would say that applies anywhere, whether it's here in the United States or overseas, because you don't want to get ripped off either. You want to make sure
Absolutely,
that
yeah.
your money is going to the cause that you think you're providing it for, and that it's not something illegal.
Sure. Honestly, Paul, for you personally, and some member of the FBI, I see him in every event, integrating with the community, talking to the member of the community organization and all that. And your relation with the community, honestly, has been improving a lot. You become part of the community. But are you engaging? I mean, beside all that, yes, and you're doing a great job in it.
Thank you.
Because I attend a lot of
Thank you, Walt.
events, and every event I see is Paul is there or member of the FBI
Thank you.
there. But are you engaging member of the countries like Syria and Iraq and Yemen, which is there is a percentage of people criminal, that from that country? Are you engaging with the FBI and understanding the culture, understanding if there is any member of the community thinking about going join ISIS, or they know probably somebody here from ISIS trying to commit a crime and all that?
Again, I think it's important that we take a very open-minded approach and not focus in on any particular country or community. It's what we do. I mean, we're out trying to identify anyone.
But because of the
posing a
threat that ISIS put everywhere and all that, we have to ask this kind of questions. Yeah.
Yeah, look, we work, like we talked about the international presence. So it varies from country to country, but we do work closely with a number of other countries, again, to share intelligence,
Yes.
both for the protection of individuals, over in other countries and here. You know, it's sort of a mutual benefit that we gain by having those
Yes, and you're doing
relationships.
that to protect the community first, honestly.
We're
Because those
interest-
criminal, when they're a criminal act, is going to be toward the communities and the community at large.
we're interested in protecting innocent people everywhere.
Yes.
Whether it's overseas in a foreign country or here, those are the efforts that we're doing day in and day out, 24/7, to keep people safe.
Great. Paul, give me a minute. What's your message to the Middle Eastern community, not just in Michigan, we broadcast North America. What do you want more from them? What do you want them, how to act when there is suspicious and all that? If you combine them all in 1 minute.
Well,
Give you 2 minutes.
I don't like to single out any particular community. We serve everyone fairly and equally. And what I say is, if something doesn't feel right, if you deem something suspicious, whether it's a person, behavior, whatever it is, and you just don't feel right about something, again, common sense. We want you to contact us. We'd rather have the opportunity to follow up on that and pursue it. We get calls all the time. We have the ability, if you go online to www.fbi.gov, people will have the ability to submit information that way, or you can call us on the phone. Again, if it's something that you feel poses an immediate or imminent threat, I would urge you to call 911 or the police, and we'll get involved in that as well if necessary. But yeah, we want to encourage people to come forward. We would rather have the opportunity to know in advance and have the ability to prevent something bad from happening, an act of violence or harm, stop harm from coming to people, rather than have to investigate it after the fact and seek justice in the wake of something tragic.
Absolutely. Honestly, Paul, on behalf of the whole community, I thank you for your service. I thank the men and women of not just the FBI, the whole federal agencies that we had, and that they working with the community so close. And I know at the end it's protecting the community, the Middle Eastern, and the community at large.
Yeah.
So we thank you for that again.
Thank you, Wally.
Thank you.
And thank you for having me here today.
Sure, my
Appreciate
pleasure.
it.
Dear viewer, that was my interview with Paul Abaid. He's the special agent in charge of the FBI. Honestly, wherever I go, I see Paul trying to understand the issue of the community, dealing with the community, being part of the community. And you, the community, I want you honestly to thank him everywhere we see them, because they're doing a great job for us. They're there to protect us. So working with them, and especially as Paul said, if there is any suspicious, do not just watch and say, I don't have nothing to do with it, because it could come and hint you and your family. So please act, call, try to prevent something from happening. Thanks for watching, and good night.